Have you ever felt lost, confused, or indecisive, and then suddenly a feather just appeared in your path and instantly you just knew the answer to all of your questions? Or maybe friends and family keep buying you animal themed things and you're wondering, why do I have like 10 pairs of frog knickers or owl cushions? And you want to understand, why is this animal turned up in my life? Or perhaps an animal has appeared to you in a dream and you're wondering, what does this symbolize? What does this mean? How can this help me with my current challenge or obstacle? This is why I have created the YouTube series Animal with myself and guests. It's going to offer you insight into what is the magic, the myth, the medicine of the animal kingdom. What does it mean to have a spirit guide that is a particular animal, and how can they support you in your life's journey, in your healing, and in your connection to self? So whether you are seeking an animal guide, or you want to understand yours better, or maybe even yourself better, or perhaps you're just curious about the symbology, the mythology, the wisdom, medicine, and magic of animals, then this is the perfect series of interviews for you. An easy and accessible way to understand the relevance of animal spirit guides to you, along with practical tips and tools for integrating the wisdom of animals into your everyday life and into your spiritual practice. Now let us fly, gallop, and dive into this episode and the support and inspiration that will empower you. Okay, so welcome to this episode. Super excited to have Jessica Howard with me, talking to us about octopus, the magic and myth and wonder of octopus. So Jessica has been a practicing pagan for over 20 years, and her books include The Art of Lithomancy, Divination with Stones, Crystals and Charms, and The Water Witch, an Introduction to Water witchcraft. Couldn't quite get it out there.
Too many W's, yeah.
Everyone knows what I mean, hopefully. She currently lives in the UK, where she spends her time writing, recording guided meditations, and researching local folklore. So a very big welcome to you, Jessica. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I've been looking forward to this.
I'm so excited. Although I must admit, when I was practicing before, I was getting a bit confused about octopus and octopi, and I kind of invented a new word, octopuses. I was like,
I love it.
Think
We'll
of
stick
what
with that.
octopi
Yeah.
was. I was like, there must be lots of octopuses. And I thought maybe it's not very often they're all together, so we'll just go octopi. So maybe for people that are kind of new to octopuses, do you want to give like a little kind of description maybe about them, or what they are, maybe why they're called octopuses?
Oh, I mean, why they're called that, I honestly cannot tell you. Yes, words are a mystery. But no, octopuses are obviously they're sea creatures, very, very intelligent. They have several, we call them arms, tentacles, we call them arms. And actually each one has a little brain at the end of it. So they are very good at multitasking. They're masters of camouflage. They can camouflage into pretty much any background. They're ridiculously intelligent. They're also quite independent. They're quite mischievous, which I think a lot of people don't realize about octopi. But yeah, there's plenty of videos of them kind of, being a little bit sneaky. I think we've all seen the videos of them managing to squeeze through really small holes. There's even videos of them just seemingly randomly punching fish just for being in their general area. So yeah, octopi are they're very interesting creatures. I won't go too much into kind of the science because there's so many different species and each species is slightly different. But a lot of their, I suppose, physical attributes, things like their intelligence, also kind of translates into how we work with them as spirit animals. So, yeah, hopefully, as we kind of go through and I talk a bit more about the spirit animal side of things, it will also
Yeah.
give you an idea as to the octopi as an animal.
Fabulous, wonderful. Thank you for that. Yeah, I always think of the octopus that's in Finding Dory, is it? You know,
Oh,
a little bit
yes.
grumpy, but very clever. Okay, so if we were to talk about octopus as spirit guides, as animal guides, as, you know, companions more than just with us in the sea, but with us in the spirit realm. So what is the magic of octopus? Why would you want to connect to it? Why would you call it in as a spirit guide? And also, what does it mean if it turns up as a spirit guide?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, the octopus was a bit of a surprise for me when I was kind of working to find my animal guide. I wasn't expecting it to be an octopus. I was kind of expecting it to be a sea creature. Part of what I did was, and I think it's a book by Sandra Kynes. It's called Sea Magic Connecting with the Ocean's Energy. So I was kind of working through that as part of my own water witchcraft practice. And there's a fantastic exercise in that book where you go to meet your animal guide. So I performed that and yeah, was quite surprised that it was an octopus. But the octopus is one that I've kind of stuck with for quite a few years now. I know often with animal guides, they'll turn up when you need them, you'll kind of work with them for a bit, and then once kind of you've got out of the relationship what they needed to show you, they'll kind of move on. But the octopus is one that constantly keeps coming back. I think one of the main reasons that I love working with the octopus is it's an animal that really encourages you to internally reflect. I mean, they're really aware and they're really perceptive of their environments. And as kind of mentioned, they're also very intelligent, but also quite strategic with that. And I find that the octopus is a really good one to work with, especially if you're feeling a bit lost or there's a lot of chaos going on around you, because the octopus very much kind of gets you to focus on what can I do in this situation? You may not be able to control what other people are doing or what's happening in the world around you, but the octopus really invites you to kind of take a step back and just reflect on, oh, okay, well, what can I do in this situation? How am I feeling? What are my next steps? And really kind of just sort of embrace your own authenticity, if that makes sense. So I would say that that is one of the main benefits of working with the octopus. And it kind of does so in such a way that it's very objective. Oftentimes, especially when we're going through situations that might be, yeah, a bit chaotic, they can be quite emotive. And especially for someone like me, who can be the sort of person that likes to lead with their emotions, the octopus is a really helpful guide for just making you kind of take a step back from those emotions and looking at it from I suppose, a more intellectual, mental, logical point of view, and kind of laying out, right, this is everything that's happening. Here's this, here's that. What can I do about this? Okay, I can't do anything about this, but where do I go next with this? So it's just a really great animal, I'd say, first and foremost, for helping you to, yeah, just sit, come to terms and formulate a plan of attack, for lack of a better word. I prefer working with the octopus in those situations than, say, the shark. So the shark is very much an animal, as you'd expect, of action, tells you to kind of go straight in and just, you know, dive through everything. But I find that the energy of the octopus is a lot more comforting. It's weird to describe an octopus as comforting, especially when you look at their physicality, they don't look like these, you know, cute, cuddly little creatures, apart from, yeah, you know, the Pixar movies and things. But actually, the energy of the octopus is quite comforting as well. So I would say, kind of first and foremost, that's my main reason for working with the octopus anyway.
Fabulous. So, how has the octopus helped you? I mean, you've briefly gone into this, but you know, when did it turn up in your life? I know that you said that it turned up when you had a book, but there was something in particular that it helped you with, like a situation that it helped you get through, you know, and how did it appear to you? So did you I know that some people start seeing the animals, like they pop up, don't they? You're like, oh, everybody's buying me like owl cards for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, so how did it all happen for you?
I mean, obviously, as you'd kind of expect, the octopus is a little bit different in that sense. You're not going to be walking down the street and see an octopus just kind of, trotting along on its arms. Very unlikely. If you do, then we've probably got a problem. But so yeah, the octopus is obviously not one you're just going to see in everyday life. But I do notice, again, those kind of little things, like I think I ordered a package off of Etsy, and I think it was just some soaps or something, but they were decorated with like some nice packaging and a rope and a little octopus charm attached to it, out of all of the charms. And I'd actually bought this particular soap because it contained essential oils that I associate with the element of water. So, there was a nice little connection there. Or yeah, walking into went to a craft fair shortly after I started working with the octopus, and I found this gorgeous like handmade box that was decorated with octopi and had like a nice kind of octopi statue on top. So yeah, for me personally, working with the octopus is much more of, again, an internal thing. So I do lots of journeying. It will quite often pop up in dreams, and that sort of way of communicating with it, rather than seeing those external cues that you often associate or may get with other animal guides. I think for me, it's been really helpful in my life in general, rather than just in a specific situation, which I think is one of the reasons that I keep going back to the octopus, because as well as it being very kind of internal and helping you just kind of reflect, it's really resourceful. So octopuses themselves are really resourceful. They have actually been proven to kind of make and use tools. So resourcefulness is another attribute of the octopus, as is adaptability, again, kind of with their ability to camouflage. So adaptability, flexibility, also great traits that kind of go along with that resourcefulness. So there's plenty of times, I think, in our kind of day-to-day lives where we might need to be a bit more resourceful, whether that's with our time, with the work that we're doing, with kind of our relationships and things like that, money, etc. So I do find that because of those attributes, the octopus is one that you can kind of keep coming back to and working with again and again. Emotional issues as well. So I know that I've kind of spoken about the octopus in terms of it being very kind of logical, but that also makes it really well placed to help us deal with emotional issues, again, kind of helping us take that step back and look at it from a more objective point of view, rather than leading with our emotions. And again, transformation and regeneration, sorry. So the octopus can regenerate limbs. And again, going back to that camouflage thing, it can change color. So kind of tied in with adaptability and flexibility, that element of transformation is always one that I think, especially as spiritual practitioners, we're always kind of striving for. We're always looking to improve, be the best elements and versions of ourselves, and constantly kind of undergoing these little transformations. So the octopus is a really great guide in general, I think, for anybody who is spiritually inclined, or may not be a spiritual journey, but just anybody that is going on some sort of journey and kind of wants a guide there to help them through that each step of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow, that sounds amazing. Oh, thank you, octopus.
Yeah.
It's amazing because I think this is kind of highlighting that those animals, there's some that are really obvious that a lot of people like have turn up all the time, yet there's so many that you probably wouldn't think of that have just such great potential for supporting and inspiring us. So it kind of invites you to open up to this realm. And yeah, no, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah, and I think,
sorry, no, you go.
Oh no, I was going to say on that note, yeah, no, I mean, I've worked with, I suppose, the more kind of traditional ones that you'd expect to turn up: horses, foxes, that sort of thing. And I think that people do tend to overlook sea animals. I mean, even fish, I can think of like several different species of fish, all that have their own attributes and kind of elements that make them great to work with as kind of animal guides, because again, they're kind of limited to the sea. Unless you go to an aquarium or something, you're very unlikely to come across them. So I think that, yeah, they often don't come to mind immediately when people are thinking about working with animal guides. But yes, I definitely, as you can tell, am a big supporter and more people looking into working with sea animals and the like as animal guides, because yeah, they are fantastic. It truly is like a whole other world of animal guides.
Fabulous. So obviously you've written a book on water witchcraft, so you are the expert. So do you have any like specific things that you do to connect to octopus, or when you're connecting to them? I know you mentioned journaling, but say there was somebody thinking, wow, this is really inspiring me and I would like to connect to octopus, or for some reason they're seeing them all over the place and they think they might be a guide, even walking down the street. What would you like advise, like tips or tools to actually connect to octopus?
So first off, I would say meditation. Meditation is a great one, especially because, I mean, you're going to get sick of me saying the octopus is very much around inner reflection. So practices such as meditation or path working and journeying, those sorts of practices are really great for connecting with the octopi energy, octopi energy. Let's go with that. I would also say, so one of the things that I've done is I've created my own kind of sea oracle deck. So there's quite a few different kind of animal guides that I work with, including the octopus. And I've actually got 2 or 3 cards in there that represent kind of different states of the octopus. So especially because I know that not everybody really gets on with meditation or that sort of thing. So if you're looking for more, I suppose, visual and kind of ways to connect in the physical world, then even just creating your own mini oracle deck, just, get some cards, draw, 1 octopus, 2 octopus, 3 octopus, give each a meaning, kind of use that to help you connect with the different aspects of the octopus that you might need in that moment. Again, I always enjoy personally working with things such as seashells and crystals and herbs and things associated with the element of water. So yeah, definitely I find seashells are really great for connecting with the octopus. Even one of the things that I have, I don't think I've got it to hand unfortunately, but it's just kind of a large cockle shell which I've drawn an octopus on just very roughly, and even something as small as that has kind of helped with that connection and connecting with the octopus energy. So I think in terms of connecting with the energy yourself, definitely would recommend first off meditating. If meditation isn't for you, then yeah, try things like making your own little oracle set or creating a physical kind of trigger that can connect you to the energy of the octopus. That could even be like, I've actually got here, this is currently one that I use. He's this cute little crochet octopus that I picked up at a market, and he's got a very angry face, so he just sits there on my desk whilst I'm working and I occasionally just rant at him. But yeah, even little things like that, like, just getting a little figurine, speaking out loud to it, and yeah, all of those little things can help you connect with the energy of the octopus. There's no wrong or right way to do it. It's whatever makes you feel comfortable. But again, octopus, very adaptable. The energy of the octopus can also adapt to how we want to communicate with it. So yeah, just have a go, try a few things and see what works for you.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. There's some really accessible ways you've shared there, because I imagine a lot of people, like you said at the beginning, think of these creatures that are deep in the ocean and think they're so, a completely different world to us. So, how can we connect when we can't see them really without going to an aquarium? And I suppose there's a lot of places in the world where, if the sea's not nearby, you can't get to the sea, then, those are really good ways, yeah, through meditation, etc. So do you have a meditation with octopus that people can try out that I could put the link for? Or
yes, so I don't have it myself. I still actually follow I'm pretty sure it was Sandra Keen's, the meditation that she originally wrote in her book. So I will double check that it's definitely from that book. And if it is, I will let you know. And then maybe you can link to that, because the last thing I want to do is take credit for someone else's meditation. But it essentially involves kind of going on a journey, and you end up walking through a cave, and then you kind of go through the cave, and by the end of it, you meet your animal guide. And when I first did that, it was such a strong experience that I just keep going back to that every time I deliberately want to connect with the energy of the octopus. I just perform that journey, that meditation, and then kind of spend a bit of time just communicating with the octopus and, you know, gaining its guidance and its wisdom. So yes, I will double check my books after this and send you the link. It's either that or another author, but yes, I would. And to be honest, there's plenty of free resources out there as well, meditations and things to help you connect with your animal guide. I might have one on my website, or I might have removed it, but I'll double check again. If it's there, I'll send a link. But yeah, if you're new to journeying or meditation, then just stick something in Google. There'll be plenty of resources to help you meet your animal guide, and most of them are kind of, oh, you're going to go and meet a random animal guide, you know, that you need at that moment. But if you go into it focusing on wanting to connect with the octopus, then yeah, you should be able to connect with the energy of the octopus through that.
Great, thank you very much for that. Just as you were sharing, I was thinking about the octopus, what you were saying about it being like internal kind of reflection. It feels like actually kind of matching. So we're recording this at, in autumn, and I was just thinking, it's very much, it feels like that energy of coming inwards, coming into the depths of the ocean, kind of inner reflective. But then, people could also connect to the sea in the summer, when it's got more of that kind of that you're going to the beach and you can physically go and connect and have your feet in the ocean and connect then. So it feels like a really kind of yeah, like you said, adaptable, like you could connect to them all year round, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I find quite interesting about working with sea animal guides in general. Just to go like a little bit off kilter, is that a lot of sea animals have very different reproductive cycles to, I suppose, kind of land animals, mammals, etc. Like obviously when we think of the wheel of the year, a lot of that is based around fertility, and in the spring we celebrate the new babies and they grow up during the summer, and then kind of winter everything kind of dies off a little bit and we go into this period of just kind of recuperation until the next year. But it's very different when you're working with sea animal guides and just the sea in general, because it has completely different cycles depending on the sea, the ocean, the river, how deep you go, the animal, etc. So sea animals, and especially the octopus, as you kind of said there, are really good to work with all year round because of that real kind of variation in cycles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and do they work well? I think of them as very much like a lone creature. If they appear to people, they're more likely to come as a single octopus or as a group like octopi. Is their energy different, like their wisdom and lessons different as to whether there's one or like group? I don't know what you'd call a group of.
Oh yeah, no idea. I'm awful with the terminology. No, it's a really interesting question. I'll be honest, I've only ever experienced single octopi. Whenever I've worked with the octopus, whether that's in meditations or journeying and things like that, I've only ever been visited by the one. So I can't honestly say whether the energy would be different in a group. It's not something I've experienced. Like I imagine it would, but yeah, based on my own experience, it's only ever been the one.
Yeah, so like I was just thinking, like a big crown, when you see them, they're always on their own. And I've always felt sorry for them. Like,
Yeah.
oh, they're on their own again. But I wonder if that, in a way that would appeal to the people that are, quite, introverted or are quite singular in their spirituality, because sometimes we do meet as covens and as groups and do guided meditations, but sometimes we do also need, alone time that's just for us. And it sounds like a companion that would be for those very personal, intimate times rather than like, gosh, imagine if we did a big like dance meditation of octopus. I just think like loads of people wiggling their arms, which would be kind of cool. But to me, the energy does feel like from what you're saying, that really kind of intimate connection. I can imagine it being a really good guide for introverts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally more of a solitary practitioner. Like, I occasionally go to group meets and things and, Sabbath celebrations. But for the most part, I am, I suppose, a solitary practitioner. And it's not something I'd actually thought about before, but yeah, I can absolutely see how perhaps my style of practice, which is quite solitary, and you know, whilst I do post a lot online and social media and things, and obviously I write the books, kind of a lot of what I actually do I keep quite private. So yeah, I can absolutely see how maybe that makes it makes it easier for me to connect with the octopus energy, because that is kind of my general personality, as it were. It's an interesting point that I hadn't considered. Yeah.
I just often find that, like, when someone says they have an animal guide, there's almost like there's something. I mean, they can teach us how to embody their characteristics, but there's always like almost like you're a match, like it's like Snap. There's something about you that reflects them, and something about them that reflects you, and that they come to you for a reason, because you're like this perfect soulmate match. So you're reflecting personalities a bit. And I was just thinking, like octopus, I can imagine, yeah, just dreaming with them in the water space, and them coming to me in that way, rather than me seeking them, if you know what I mean. And going
Yes.
out to them, it feels like they just kind of like float. I don't know what they do,
Yeah.
wobble, float in the dream space. It kind of feels like that energy. So despite that, have you ever worked with octopus in relation to any of your other, because I imagine you connect to quite a lot of sea creatures. Have you, how do they work? Like, what other creatures do you connect to? Does the octopus, has it ever worked in combination, or do you have like your guides as like kind of separate things? Because I often find that mine will come for a specific occasion or a theme, or saying that they're going to
Yeah.
help with. It's not very often they come together, unless I need protection or something.
Yeah, no, that's very much my experience as well. Yeah, so I do work with other animal guides, especially kind of sea animal guides, or birds associated with water. Like I really love birds in general, so things like herons and cormorants, and yeah, I work with birds associated with the water quite a lot as well. But yeah, similar to that, I've always found that most of those just kind of turn up when I need them. It can even be like a really quick message. Like I remember it was a few months ago, and I was walking to work and I saw a cormorant, and the message, it was like an immediate message that I just kind of got in my head. It was turn back, turn back, turn back. And I was like, that's a bit weird, but I've got to get to the office, and I got to the train station, and all the trains had been cancelled. So I had to turn back anyway. And that was kind of the last interaction in that, I suppose, moment that I had with the cormorant. So yeah, similar to you, most of my other animal guides will just turn up when needed. I'll work with them, and once the message has been received, they'll kind of disappear until next time. But the octopus is, I think, as I said, the only one that I've kind of kept that relationship with, and I don't recall them having interacted with any of my other guides before. I think the octopus could be a good one to use if you, and again, because the octopus is very much around strategy and resourcefulness, I think the octopus would be a very good one to use to ask, okay, is there another animal guide that you'd recommend me working with? And then potentially kind of leading you to that guide. It's not something I've tried, but it is something that I have kind of thought before. So whilst I've never worked with the octopus and another guide, the energy that I get from the octopus is it's not possessive. It's not like, oh, I'm working with you and I'm the only one that can work with you. Again, it's that element of kind of awareness and yeah, resourcefulness. That yeah, I think the octopus could also be a good one for helping you kind of go forth and learn other animal guides that you could potentially work with to help you resolve a specific situation that you found yourself in.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Thank you. Sorry, I kind of threw that at you.
No, that's
Just
fine. It's
speaking,
some really good
reflecting, I was
questions.
like, things that are coming to me as yeah, wonderful. So if you, just to finish this up and bring to a conclusion, if you had one tip or tool, like the tip or tool to connect to octopus, what would you recommend? Like the thing that you think ultimately kind of sums up or is octopus?
Oh, okay. It's gonna sound really, really basic, but honestly, it works every time for me. And that's just ask the octopus. That's literally it. Just ask the octopus. You don't, I mean, when working with the octopus, and like I can be a big fan of elaborate rituals. I love kind of getting all my tools out and dressing up a bit and making a real kind of show of it. But I have never felt the need to do that with the octopus. Honestly, I think the best way to connect with the octopus energy, like the one thing that I would say, the one tool, it's not like a wand or a fancy crystal. It's literally just kind of reach out and say, octopus energy, I could really do with some help here. Please let me connect with you. And then try meditating, or it may come to you in a dream. But yeah, as basic as it sounds, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you like some, elaborate ritual or, secret text to connect with the energy of the octopus. Just simply kind of reaching out with positive intention has always been, in my experience, enough to connect with the energy of the octopus. So yeah, I have found that the octopus is a really easy guide to work with.
Yeah, it's funny, like when you were just on a very funny side note, as you were talking there about like you don't need to do anything elaborate. I was thinking of like hermit crabs, like putting on different shells and like all the different outfits, and like you'd have to dress up and do a dance. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
yeah,
You
yeah,
don't
no,
need to craft a paper mache shell and yeah.
do a little crab dance. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I think that it's one of these things that I think with our spiritual practices, we learn so much and we find out so much and we go to different teachers and we try different things. But then we have to come back to this simplicity. It's something I say again and again to my students is you don't need these big elaborate things, this invocation that is like word for word perfect. It's just being in that moment and just, whatever feels good and right for you. And yeah, and I love that you're emphasizing that as well about this simplicity, about just saying anything, just reaching out, just starting that point of communication and just being open, having allowance for whatever happens, whatever appears. Wonderful. So I'm going to pop Jessica's links down below so you can find out more about her and her books, and you can send images to her of you dancing like an octopus.
Yes, please.
And of course, if
Or
you have
just
any
cool pictures of octopuses that you have, I will, yeah, happily take them.
we actually had one just turn up like on our coast of North Wales, and it's very rare that they actually wash up on the shore. And
Yeah.
it turned up a few days ago, and I wondered, like, what does it mean, like why is this being presented to us? So and a lot of people just going and taking pictures, and I was thinking, why is this octopus like come to our attention? It must have known I was going to talk to you.
Yeah. One thing I will say actually is kind of my immediate reaction to that. So weirdly, octopuses, again, kind of going back to the question that you asked around kind of what can you do to connect with the energy of the octopus. Actually, one of the things that my octopus guide has asked for before is sort of kind of minor acts of activism, if you'd call them that, like donating to sea charities and going and doing like a beach cleanup or something. Actually, octopuses really kind of appreciate those acts in the physical world as well. So yeah, my kind of initial reaction is, an octopus kind of washing up, especially because, as you said, it doesn't happen that often, is probably a bit of a warning in terms of kind of, the ecological crisis that's going on at the minute, without wanting to sound all doom and gloom. But yeah, something like that is probably a really strong message from the octopus that it's time to kind of clean up our act in the oceans and just pay a bit more attention.
Yeah, and that is one thing you can do, when they're spiritually giving us so much, but also they're physically giving us so much, in the ocean. And, that is one way we can give back, is by helping, by doing little things, at your local beach, or even, I'm sure, donating to, charities or whatever, or just learning more about them. I think if that, it doesn't have to be just spiritual or just on the physical plane, it can be and a bit of both, and often they are one and the same, really. Don't have to be praying, meditating, actually taking these physical acts in the world, you know, they are sacred acts, they are spiritual, because you're contributing to the, you know, to the life and the energy and the happiness of this planet.
Yeah, 100%.
Fabulous. Oh, thank you so much for coming to share about octopi, and octopuses.
Oh no, this has been great. Yeah, you've said some really interesting questions. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for all that you shared with us, and all that you've offered. And yeah, I will put your links down below so people can find out more about you. If anybody has any questions for Jessica about octopus as well, please do pop them in the comments, and I can ask her, or I'll direct her and we'll get the answers for you so you can find out more. So thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for being here, Jessica, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. What animal will be next? Take care, and thank you very much.